Shalom and good day all, this is Healing29 back again for a indie comic review, and in this indie comic review I'll be covering Hyde Street issue 1 and Redcoat issue 6. I'll now get things organised for the first one that I'll be covering. So to start things off, we'll be moving into Hyde Street, and I want to point out that both of these stories are written by Jeff Johns. And first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the area of the beginning, middle and end of the story as we look at the internal art and also what's happening story-wise with the characters. So as the story begins, we see that there's quite a bit of construction happening along Hyde Street. And of course we meet a grandmother of sorts. And of course, I want to just show a couple of pages around this. And we meet this a strange scout of sorts that's also around the street. I'll now move to the area of the middle. As we start to move towards the middle of the story, we meet the character known as Mr. X-Ray. Or he's called Mr. X-Ray. And we also learn a little bit about this character as well. We do get like a bit of a past history. And that he's also responsible for, I guess, creating these X-ray glasses of sorts. And last but not least, towards the end, to which we have both these characters end up meeting up together within the story, and we learn that there is something a little bit more sinister, not with Mr. X-Ray though. Apparently there's something a little bit more sinister about this particular scout in this street. We don't get the character's name, but it would have been nice to actually gotten the character's name, so should there be any future solicits or any future reviews, it would have been easier to at least try to remember the character's name. So for the internal art, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the story. First things first, do we get anything addressing the area of time? Apparently we do, because we get a bit of a flashback to the year of 1966. But this takes place not in Hyde Street, but in like a particular building. Whether it's connected to Hyde Street or not, I don't know. It might be connected to something outside of Hyde Street. The location, of course, it's actually Hyde Street itself, but we don't know where Hyde Street actually is in the story. And last but not least, the cast of characters. Now, we, of course, have the character of a scout, the grandma, to which something actually happens to the grandma, so no big spoilers. We also have a character by the name of Judy, who I think is Mr. X-Ray's daughter or granddaughter. It's not very super specific. And of course, there's Mr. X-Ray, to which the scout, we have the character of the scout. We don't know their name, but we do know that they wear a Boy Scout uniform. And he also calls Mr. X-Ray Mr. Peepers. For the overall story, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into Redcoat issue 6. So as we move into Redcoat issue 6, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something inside of the story? Well, I need to show you something about this cover because it's actually a wraparound cover. And for this cover, I give it an 8 out of 10. So now it's time to work in the area of the internal art as we have a look at the story around the beginning, middle, and of course the end, and also what's happening story-wise with the characters. So, as we move into the beginning of the story, we have the return of the Founding Fathers cult, and we learn that Benedict Arnold is actually playing the role of the Grand Architect, of the founding fathers. And of course, he's told something to Simon Pure to indicate the sort of like that George Washington isn't around, and until we learn something a little bit later on. We'll find out when we get to that. But I do actually quite like the art done here. I think all of the artists involved have done a really good job. And of course, we still have the character of Albert Einstein going out of his way to help Simon Pure. So with the return of Albert Einstein, we get to see him take on some of the villains that Simon Pure is up against. And one of the things that that Benedict Arnold is wanting to do is trying to immortalize himself, due to some of the things that what happened with Simon Pure, and they're trying to undo the work that they did there. And last but not least, towards the end of the story, to which we actually learn something scary that, okay, George Washington is actually alive. And he'll be showing up in the next issue. So for the internal art, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Next is the area of the story. Considering how far we are story-wise, did we get any comic book references? No, we didn't. Next is the area of the time. We didn't get the indication of when this time period was, though it should have been, it should have carried it over from the previous issue to let us know what year that we're in. It's a pity that they actually forgot to do that, because I think it would have actually helped to keep consistency with the story and how the story's been written. Next is the area of a location. We ending up on a particular ship. We don't quite learn the ship's name, and also a piece of, or a bit of a small urban city of sorts. And we didn't quite get to see where that was. The cast of characters consisting of Simon Pure, Albert Einstein, we had the Founding Fathers cult, we had Benedict Arnold, and of course the return of George Washington. For the overall storytelling in this, I give it an 8 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.